Greetings, everyone. Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of The Monster's Den. Joining us today, as always, we've got Mr. Craig Kaminski, Chris, the King Aloe, and Jamie, the man of 1,000 props, Laszlo. I could have said a million, right? Because you got a lot of them up your sleeve. So
Yeah, I've been doing ixnay on the props lately. It gets costly, man.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does.
No doubt.
Unless you got to plan them out and you got to execute them. It doesn't always work out
Right,
100%, but
right.
you've done some really good ones. So we always await the next one. So
Okay.
anyway, thanks for joining, guys, and everybody watching at home. So today we've got a cool little program here for you. We're going to take a look at three fairly recent films, all by the same director. This is a guy who's been making a lot of waves in recent years. He came out with a film in 2015 called The Witch. The guy's name is Robert Eggers. The Witch, followed in 2019 by The Lighthouse, followed just this year by The Northman. He's got a distinct style. None of these films are instant gratification type films. They're all kind of slow burns, but I think they all have some really good elements about them, really good acting. He's always picked out really good casts, and these films have resonated with people. So today's theme is, have they, all three of them, resonated with us? So we're going to go one by one. We're going to start with the very first film, and basically we're all going to talk about what our first impressions of these films were, subsequent views, if there are any, had our initial views changed at all, what we think of the directing, the style of the films in general, the acting, the cast, all that sort of thing, and then ultimately, do we like these movies or not? So Jamie, why don't you kickstart us off with The Witch?
All right. I did see it in the theater in 2015. Did you guys all go to the theater to see it?
No.
Um, well, I went because there was a lot of hype around it and the trailer looked really cool. And I'm sitting there and I'm not understanding a word anyone's saying. And I'm thinking my ears will get used to it. And a half hour in, I'm like, I don't know what's going on because I can't understand what they're saying. And, leading up to 2015, there was a lot of horror movies coming out that had a lot of hype around them. Critics were loving them. And I would go see them and I'm like, that wasn't that great. It follows. First time I saw it, I was like, what's all the hype about, man? So I came out of theater on this one mad, and I was calling it hipster horror. Fuck this hipster horror shit. Everybody's saying they love this. You can't understand a damn word, and you can't understand it. So stop saying you love it. That was my attitude. And then I rewatched it at home, and I'm like, I'm going to put on the subtitles. And I think this happened to a lot of people. Once you put on the subtitles, you're like, this is a pretty good movie, And actually, all three movies I like better on the second viewing. So, yeah, I really dug it. Then I bought the Blu-ray, I know it's on 4K, but I bought the Blu-ray. It was like $5. And then I watched it again. And, there's Robert Eggers, he's not for everyone. He's kind of like the Wes Anderson of horror. If you know Wes Anderson, he's, you either love him or hate him. Personally, I'm not a Wes Anderson fan, but that's kind of like how this guy is. He loves natural lighting, and you have a lot of that in The Witch. He loves darkness and likes to play with the light and the darkness when it comes to characters too, light and dark. But yeah, the more I watch this movie, the more it creeps me out. I think it's got the creepiest twins since The Shining. It leaves questions when you watch this. I mean, Anya Taylor-Joy, is her character a witch from the beginning? Is she doing things and not realizing she's doing it? Are the twins evil? Is everyone evil in this movie? It's one of those movies that I keep trying to figure out, and that's what keeps bringing me back to it. I'm going to pay attention this time, and I'm going to really figure out its secrets. So right there gives the rewatchability, because it's kind of like Angel Heart, when I'm always rewatching that movie, trying to figure it out like a puzzle. So it did come out in 4K. You showed the 4K, Pete. But Eggers was not happy with that 4K. And I heard bad things. You said it looks great. I've never seen it. But he did go back in himself and messed with the color scheme and everything in the HDR. And they released it in a box set.
Yeah, very expensive box set.
Very expensive box set that I bought.
Of course.
Nice.
Yes. It's ridiculous. That you know what? My collection doesn't have that one thing in it that I should not have spent money on, that much money on. So I wanted one. This is it. Yeah, and it's cool, man. It's got the Blu-ray, which is in region B, but it's got the 4K, which is region free, and it's got all kinds of extras on the 4K. I don't know if there's different stuff on the Blu-ray or not, but tonight I do have a region free player being dropped off, so I will find out. It has cards with like the rabbit and Black Phillip on it, and then it has this book that's like 100 pages of like pictures and all kinds of stuff. It's like a nice, I'll never read it, but it's really nice to page through.
Jamie, did Arrow put that out? Because that looks like one of those Arrow.
Second Sighting.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a British release.
Yeah.
Which is
so funny. A year ago, I didn't know the difference between Second Sighting, Arrow, Criterion, and then I met you assholes, and now I know all that.
Well, listen, Jamie, since you're spending money on The Witch, it's time to upgrade that shitty DVD you got of Dawn of the Dead and go buy the fucking.
Oh, yeah, I know. I saw that out in the wild for like $5 and just grabbed it. It's a placeholder. Call that a placeholder until I get the real deal. Don't worry, I'm on top of it, and it looks great. In fact, at the end, I compared it to my old Blu-ray that I recently traded in. Now that I have this, when the devil comes and he's behind Anya Taylor-Joy, you know, in Delicious Life, you can't see him on my Blu-ray. You cannot see him. On this, you see him plain as day. You see his boots, you see his nose, you see his hand. So yeah, if you can get your hands on it, I've seen it as low as $55 out there. I think it's kind of worth it. It's worth it if you're thinking about it. It's worth it. If you're not thinking about it, of course you're going to think I wasted my money, but I would say go for it if you want to. So yeah, I dig it a lot. I mean, I bought the damn shirt. I mean, it was a drunk buy. My wife says it's the only shirt I own that she will not go out in public with me if I wear, and I don't blame her. But yeah, I'm all in on The Witch. I even got a Funko Pop coming, and I hate those fucking things, but I ordered one of Black Phillip to go next to when I display this. It'll be next to it up on the shelf there.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm all in on The Witch now.
Cool. Sounds good. Chris.
Yeah, I did not. I definitely echo everything Jamie said. I did not see this in the theater. I was very intrigued. The trailer looked great. And Jamie's right. It had a huge amount of buzz on it. I mean, more buzz than anything in recent years. But I had quite a few friends who saw it. I mean, my buddy Glenn saw it and hated it. And it was the same thing. Nobody could understand what they were saying. So I wound up not going. And my buddy Dez came over to watch a bunch of movies with me in my garage. And he's like, okay, we're going to watch it. Because he had the Blu-ray. He's like, but we're going to watch it with the subtitles on. And I was like, okay. And that's how we watched it. And sure enough, it worked. Had we not had the subtitles on, and I'm pretty good with accents and dialects, but I wouldn't have caught it all for sure. And I really enjoyed it. I think, you know, Eggers definitely does have an eye, you know, for movie making. I mean, his framing of everything is unbelievable. And yep, definitely, like you said, Pete, you know, his 3 movies, they're all a slow burn. And what I did enjoy about The Witch, which I didn't enjoy about one of his other films, was I had no idea where the fuck this was going. I mean, like, until the end, which I'm not going to give it away, but it is a pretty crazy and memorable ending. I'm like, I have no idea where this film is going. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where the witch is. I don't know if this is just like weird shit going on, or if there is some occult stuff going on. I don't know what the fuck is going on, which I enjoyed the not knowing where we're going. And I definitely dug it. I got the Blu-ray. I wanted to get the set that Jamie got, but part of me is like, oh, for fuck's sake, man. You got to give me, like, I don't need the poster and the fake postcards and a sticker of Black Phillip and a scratch and sniff and whatever the fuck that all these video companies, you know, Arrow and Synapse and all that fuck. Just give me the movie. Just charge me $30. Stick all that other shit in your ass and give me the movie. So, you know, I got The Witch on Blu-ray. I think I paid $5. You know, if the second sight disc gets really cheap, then maybe I'll grab it. I do have my Black Phillip shirt, which I love because it's a spoof of the old Bathory T-shirt from the band Bathory. But yeah, I definitely dug it. I enjoy it. Anya Taylor-Joy, I was like, holy shit, this girl is gorgeous. But and now I'll watch anything she's in, and which I've seen quite.
I watched Emma, and I wanted to pull my eyeballs out trying to get through that one with her.
Wow, all right, maybe I won't watch that.
Don't.
But I loved her in New Mutants. I would love for them to do a sequel with her, but it's probably not going to happen.
That movie sucked.
But yeah, so thumbs up on The Witch.
There you go. I do want to point out this movie had a budget of $4 million. You know, because we talked about how there's a lot of buzz about this movie. So it had a $4 million budget. It only made $40 million. So
but only that's
pretty good.
Pete, that's 10 times the budget.
Right, yeah. Right. But my point is, it wasn't a blockbuster. It was a success considering how little they spent on the film. But this film was not a blockbuster. But
I don't expect these kind of movies.
But also, they didn't pay the actors a lot in that either, since they're not name actors.
Pure profit.
Yeah. You got to go by what the movie cost. I mean, this is a fucking It's not $100 million movie, but it costs nothing to make.
Yeah.
You know, most movies probably the fucking catering costs $4 million.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that is a huge return on investment.
Oh, big time. Yeah. But still a niche movie.
Which is
kind of my point.
Which is probably why he keeps making movies, but his movies are getting, you know, Northman cost a lot more money.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah. It looks it. But, you know, Northman didn't make the return on investment that The Witch did. Right. So maybe he needs to go back to making smaller pictures. I mean, I don't want to jump ahead, but
yeah, well, we will talk about the Northman in a few minutes because I think that maybe had a lot to do with when it was released, and there's a lot of factors there. Yeah. Chris, I will say, if you decide not to go get the big deluxe version, I think the 4K looks spectacular, and this was a decent price. So, you know, if you're looking to upgrade at some point, you don't want to go the full. This is I thought it looked fine. So
well, I got to pull a Papa Pete and sell some fucking extra discs because I got no more room, man. I gotta start storing stuff at Craig's house or something. I don't know. I gotta do something.
Craig, your thoughts on The Witch?
Well, I did not see this theatrically, but I watched this, I believe, from Stars or Showtime or something that I DVR'd it from. And I'm a subtitles guy. Whenever I watch any movie that I haven't seen before or TV program that I haven't seen before, I always have the subtitles on. And it's not a hearing thing. It's just a comprehension thing for me. And for certain movies such as The Witch or TV programs like The Wire or something where they have a lot of slang and things, I really, it's always just very helpful for comprehension for me personally to understand what's going on. So I enjoyed The Witch from the get-go. I also heard some the buzz about it at the time, but you know, I didn't see it in the theater, as I said. But visually, the movie's gorgeous. I mean, you really get, and it's the simple things. You see the expansiveness of the forest. That something simple like that can be frightening. And if you're supposed to put your mindset into something from several hundred years ago, you know, where simple things like lights, you know, you have to have torches or lanterns or things like that. And the simplicity of the movie is what really gave me the enjoyment of it. The younger brother, you know, encounters a witch in the woods, and it's scary. I mean, just seeing like when she grabs him, like her fingers look like they extend. And we mentioned the ending before in one of the favorite endings episodes of Monsters Den. But I love the ending. I mean it, and yeah, you kind of don't see it coming, especially as one by one the small cast gets even smaller. But once you get to that, it's a satisfying ending. It's a scary ending. Chris had mentioned it in the Monsters Den episode that we did before about favorite endings, when they're all dancing around the fire and levitating at the end. You just want to hear some black metal, some Celtic Frost or some something playing as they're levitating. It's creepy, but it's so simple and effective. And his eye for shots, and as Jamie had mentioned, with natural light, just the inside of a stable, and seeing the sheep or what had been gutted or something. I mean, it's just the simple things like that. It's a textbook 101 example of the less is more with this movie, and I think that's what gave me such enjoyment out of it. I mean, you empathize with Anya Taylor-Joy. Everyone's blaming her for all the bad things that are happening, but then there's a subtext that the father is so inept. I mean, he can't hunt properly. He can't hunt. He can't do anything right for his family. He's building their like hut or so. It's leaky. It's not. He's just all the things that a man should be able to do. At least, or definitely back then, he was just not. It just wasn't his thing. And it's just all the buildup that you get to that end. And when I see this on TV, I can see when the devil comes up at the end. I mean, you see he has a goatee and almost like a pirate sort of looking. You hear the jangle of his spurs or whatever as he's walking. It's just great, and very enjoyable movie, and definitely put Eggers as someone to watch that you don't even necessarily need to know what the movie's about. It's like if that guy's directing it, I want to see it, and you can't ask for anything more of that from a filmmaker. So he was off to a great start with The Witch.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't see this in the theater either, and I remember back in 2015, I guess, having a conversation with Ryan Scow from the Hudson Valley Squares, and he had talked about how he had seen it and loved it. And he said, if you get a chance, check it out. But I think it had already played in the theaters by this point. So I saw that it was on demand. I had Fios cable at the time. And so I remember renting it one night and watching it and thinking to myself, I haven't a clue what they're saying. And of course, stupid me never bothered to turn on the closed caption, the subtitles. I just suffered through the whole movie, and it was slow. And I remember thinking the ending was kind of cool, but I was like, man, I couldn't understand half of what they were saying. But the acting's really good, and the film looks beautiful. I love the fact that they really honed in on that time period, which was great. It looked authentic, which is, I think, one of the great things it has going for it. But also, I think at the time, too, I hadn't yet really started to discover a love for this kind of like folk horror type film, which is now fairly popular. You see a lot of filmmakers making films like this, other than like The Wicker Man and maybe Blood on Satan's Claw. I had never really opened up to films like this, horror films like this. So I was kind of like, that was a bust. So I didn't bother with it. And you fast forward like a bunch of years later, and I think we started talking about it on here. I was talking about this movie to some other people, and they're like, yeah, you really should give that film another chance. And also, too, Anna's like, she's appearing everywhere now, and I really love her as an actress. So I was like, what, let me go and rewatch this film and like really pay attention to what they're saying, put the damn subtitles on, and just immerse myself in the film. And you know what? That second time was all I needed. And I just absolutely fell in love with this movie. And I'm thinking like, God, what did I really miss the first time around? and was
Everything they said. That's what you missed.
I guess I just put a blocker up, right? And that happens sometimes. So I love the pacing of the film. I like the fact that it's a slow burn because it kind of keeps you, you know that there's some kind of menace that's coming. You know, there's going to be a payoff, but you don't really know what it is. And even though I had already seen the film, it's almost like I was watching it for the first time because all of a sudden now I'm understanding all the dialogue. And, you know, in two of the three of his films, there's a lot of dialogue. So you have to be into that, right? But I think the acting is superb in this film. Like I said, the sets are great, the locales are great, the costumes are great, and it has such a great ending. And it's a downbeat movie. There's nothing happy about this. It's bleak, but I like that kind of stuff. So and I think really falling in love with this film has allowed me to appreciate other folk horror films like Midsummer. Love Midsummer. I don't think I would have ever given Midsummer a chance had I kept my initial opinion about this film and didn't rewatch this film and really fall in love with this film. So I think going forward, you know, the more of these type of films that come out that are doing this more kind of folky, you know, lowbrow, slow burn type of horror, I think myself personally, I'll have an easier time with them. So yeah, I'm all on board. I love it. I think the 4K is great. And I'm ready to talk about the next one.
Well, you know, it can't be easy to talk that old English. That had to take some practice for them to do that and make it sound natural. I could never do that. There's no way.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if they all, you know, had to work with dialect coaches and
of course,
practice.
And the kids too, those little kids doing a good job at it.
Yeah,
man.
For sure.
And just being close to the goat, that goat didn't freak out on them at all. You know, I mean, they're right up in that goat's face, you know, and you know, playing with him, and you know, and you know, it's, you see the goat kicking, you know, kicking.
What's the famous line? Don't work with animals and children. And Eggers did both in his first movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he did very well.
I think the creepiness factor of this film, I think, really reveals itself on like second and third viewing, I think.
But right away, that just you know, the first thing, you know, playing peekaboo with the baby disappears.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's so simple, but yet it's simple, but you know, there's nothing else there. She's right in front of the woods. I mean, it's not like somebody snuck up and took the kid. The kid sure as hell didn't walk away.
Right.
I mean, right there, as soon as that happens, it's like shit's getting real. And now it's like, you know, now it's on, and you just, what's going to happen next? And that's all the markings of a great movie.
And the way he filmed it, it's the kind of movie you watch, and then maybe a month later you think about it and you go, was that movie in black and white or was it color? I can't remember. You know, because it's almost like the 79 Dracula movie where they suck the color out of it. It's almost like that.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, like after watching these three films from him, I kind of get the same impression that I did when I first started watching Neil Marshall's films. You know, and I hope that Eggers' career takes a different kind of turn, because Neil Marshall came out of the gate with a couple really, really good films. And then he's been a little kind of like, you know, where is he in recent years, you know? So, and again, these are, you know, small budget, almost indie films, and he's really making a name for himself. So, you know, and now, you know, with the Northman, obviously big budget and, you know, middling success on that one. So we'll see where it goes. We'll see where he goes from here. But anyway, where we're going to go from here is to 2019's The Lighthouse, starring Mr. Robert Pattinson, who just played Batman, as well as Willem Dafoe,
who's the Green Goblin.
Yeah, Green Goblin and a million other roles, right? Awesome. And that's it. It's just them and this little island with a lighthouse on it. So, Jamie, why don't you kick us off here?
This is another movie you might want to put the subtitles on for. There's only two times I put subtitles on for movies: when I'm watching Robert Eggers movies and when I'm watching a movie and eating nachos, because the crunching sometimes gets loud and you're like, let me just put just until I'm done. But this movie is definitely black and white, and the aspect ratio is almost a perfect square.
1 to 21 to 1.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if he did that to make it feel more confined and claustrophobic. I would imagine he didn't want wide open spaces, so it feels more open, like they're all contained in that little stupid lighthouse. That's what I'm guessing. I don't know. He's very pretentious, this guy. But unlike some other directors, Christopher Nolan, it doesn't bother me as much. I feel like he's doing this to impress himself and just make something that he wants to make. Other directors that are pretentious, I feel like he's like, look how awesome I am. Huh? I don't get that from him. I could be wrong. I'm just a guy who's watching the movie in his room, who doesn't leave this room much. So what do I know? Robert Pattinson, really good in this movie. I mean, when he got named as Batman, and if you went on social media, you saw stupid people going, "Ooh, sparkly Batman." Man, if that tells me you didn't see this, you didn't see a movie called Good Time with him. The dude can act. I mean, yeah, he was in Twilight. It was a gig. It was a paycheck, man. If you guys were actors, we wouldn't turn that gig down. We would have done that. What they do? Make 4 of them? Geez, got his foot in the door. He made its name for himself. So I don't, I'm not going to watch those movies, but I can't blame him for doing that. Still a great actor. Now he's a damn good Batman. I don't know if he's the best Bruce Wayne, but he was a damn good Batman. I would call this movie the weirdest of the 3. It's definitely weird. There's not much going on, but there's a lot going on. There's only 2 characters and a mermaid. Sometimes a mermaid. Is she real? Is she fake? I don't know. There's a lot of Greek mythology going on. I mean, I feel like there's baseballs whizzing by my head. I'm missing things. I should be catching shit, but I'm not. When I saw the first time I saw it, and Willem Dafoe looks almost like Zeus pointing down with lights coming out of his eyes, I'm like, there's shit going on here I don't understand. I think it has to do with the gods, but I don't know. And then I watched YouTube videos, and they were trying to explain it to me, and I was still confused listening to it all. But I do love, man, this guy with light. He knows his way around light, and I can respect. I fuck around with light in this room, as you can see, always messing around. So I appreciate what he does with natural light and darkness. When he puts like the light on Willem Dafoe's face several times, I cannot take my eyes off of his face, man. Who doesn't like Willem Dafoe? I mean, the guy does almost anything. He does the weirdest movies that you never heard of. He's in blockbusters. I don't think he's in any rom-coms that I know. Maybe he did. I don't think so. But he does almost. He played Jesus Christ.
With that face, man, I don't know if he's going to do any rom-coms with that.
Right. Well, he could be, the best friend.
He'd be Bang Madonna in Body of Evidence. So
That's true.
That's about as close to comedy as he probably would get.
Yeah, that movie is pretty awful. But I did buy it on VHS in the 90s for certain reasons, even though it was awful. But yeah, it's weird. The scene where they're, they hate each other pretty much, but they love each other when they get drunk. It reminds me of roommates I had when I was in my 20s, that getting on my last nerve during the day, but then at night we drink and we were best buds. Man, it brings me back to that.
That's what alcohol does.
It's so jarring at times because they run out of booze. They find all this booze and then they drink it all, and they're mixing turpentine with honey, and they're drinking that to get drunk. And there's scenes where, like, all within a few moments, they're dancing, they're fighting, they're holding each other, they're wanting to kill each other. It's so jarring. The madness comes out of this movie so great, man. You just feel them both going insane. And it's one of those movies, like, as you're watching it, you're like, is this a horror movie? I'm not sure what genre this is. Is it a thriller? Is it a character study? Where do I put it here? Do I put it under thrillers or horror or drama? I don't know, man. The guy's making up his own genres almost. So it's another movie I like better the second time too. All these movies I like better the second time. So yeah, Lighthouse, 2 thumbs up. Even has 2 twists, kind of twists in the story. Only 2 characters and there's 2 twists. That's hard to do.
Cool. Chris, who saw this movie for the first time this week?
Yeah, I saw it on Monday, and I fucking hated it. Yeah, I mean, definitely, like Jamie said.
I warned you on Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Eggers has a great eye. He's got like Jamie said, he's got a great eye for light. He's got an amazing eye for framing. But yeah, filmmaking is art, but it's entertainment, and this did not entertain me in the fucking least. I was bored out of my mind, and yeah, they were doing the weird English talk, whatever. But to me, this was like watching paint dry. To me, this would have worked great as a 22-minute episode of the original Twilight Zone. That's what this was. Because to me, I knew exactly where this was going. It's two guys going crazy on a lighthouse, and it's going to end badly. Whereas unlike The Witch and The Northman, where I didn't know where the fuck this was going, I knew the ending before I watched this movie, that they're going to fucking wind up dead. And guess what? I was right. Spoiler alert. So they're going crazy for a fucking 110 minutes, and I'm bored out of my mind. And yeah, Jamie's right. They're hugging. They're almost ready to fuck. They're going to fight, whatever else. I'm like, guys, fucking wrap this up. Just kill each other already, because I know where this is going. I'm like Eggers. You remade The Shining with two dudes and a fucking lighthouse. I'm like, let's go already. I was fucking bored. I couldn't wait for it to end. I will never watch this again. And that's my review. It's fucking terrible.
Alrighty then, Craig.
Well, I'll start with the good things about it. I too watched this for the first time last Friday, and I had the subtitles on as I always do. But I'll start with the good, and it looks gorgeous. I mean, even in black and white, you see, the ocean, the ripples, especially when when Pattinson's doing mundane activities, like when he's outside in the rain with the wheelbarrow. I mean, you can really see it. Everything is just framed beautifully. Great that Eggers has a great eye. As Jamie mentioned, the film is in 1 to 21 to 1 ratio, so it's sort of like watching an old movie from the 40s or something like that. That's not in wide, so it really gives you the sense of a small confined space of the lighthouse, made even more smaller by the fact that Pattison is not allowed to even go into the lighthouse section. So it's and he's doing all these. What you would maybe consider womanly activities of the time. He's mopping the floor, he's cleaning little things, and meanwhile, while Defoe's doing the cooking. And as Chris mentioned earlier today, they were having lobster, so they couldn't have been. It wasn't that bad, but we also joked perhaps the lack of drawn butter is what drove them insane.
No lemons, motherfucker. No lemons.
Yes. This could have been a whole different movie if there were Cheddar Bay biscuits, or something available to them. But anyhow, it looks gorgeous. Both actors are really, really good in it. It's very believable what they're doing. You see the frustration. You see, when you see the best scene of the movie, I thought, was when Defoe is cursing Pattison almost for criticizing his cooking, and the way it's framed, and it's almost like his hair just keeps getting higher and higher, and his beard, his eyes, his teeth. It's a little unnerving. The problem I had with it was that there's nothing wrong with doing a movie like this, but it's got to be like an hour and 25 minutes or an hour and a half. It can't be. It was just way too long. And I just was trying my best to stay invested in the movie and see, okay, as Chris said, I kind of know where this is going at the end, and everything. But it's like, let's get to the fireworks factory, or something. And what is going on? There's this mermaid. There's the back of some dude's head. I mean, it was they're drinking turpentine and honey. Pattinson wakes up with his pants down, and it's like, wait, what's going on in this movie? So I wanted to be more invested and engaged with the movie besides the visuals and the acting. It's just I needed something else, and I just couldn't stay with it. Now again, I only watched this once. Perhaps on a second viewing, I could take some of take a little bit more of some of the intricacies. And I also was reading some things during while watching this, just to make sure. It's like, did I catch everything? Am I missing some of the symbolism, or so that that Jamie pointed out earlier? But I shouldn't necessarily have to do that while I'm watching a movie. It should be, I mean, I'm all for complexity, but it was almost like it was weird for weird's sake at parts. And as Chris said, I want to be entertained by this too. And
I didn't even know it was turpentine until Jamie said it. I thought it was rubbing alcohol or gasoline.
Yeah. Or what they were using for their lanterns.
I had no idea.
Yeah, but
does it matter?
No,
they're drinking.
It's all the same
You shouldn't
shit.
be drinking, right? So yeah.
Right. But I just wish I was more invested, and especially I had not seen the Northman prior to a few days ago either. So knowing what I already knew about The Witch and that how much I enjoyed it, I was really looking forward to this. And so I couldn't help but be a little bit let down afterwards, despite the good visuals and despite the good acting by only two people. But if you would have shaved at least a good 20 minutes off of that, maybe I would have been left feeling a little bit more satisfied with it.
And I forgot to mention, Pete, if we're talking about the career, right, of Eggers, right? Okay, so The Witch, big return on investment, right? The Lighthouse had a production cost of $11 million.
Made like 18.
Worldwide box office was 18, but that does not include marketing and advertising, which was probably another 5, 6, 7 million. So we're talking a movie that fucking bombed.
Yeah, completely.
And he got.
I mean, honestly, I don't even remember this movie being released. I don't remember hearing anything about it. Nothing.
Well, it got an Oscar nomination, at least for cinematography, and that well deserved. For that. But yeah, it wasn't a big money maker. Although a movie like this really isn't. I don't think is designed to be. But
I ignored it in the theater when it came to the theater. But right when it came on demand, I was like, I didn't know his name. It just said director of The Witch. I'm like, oh man, because I didn't see The Witch second time yet with subtitles. I'm like, I'm gonna give this guy another shot. All right, one more shot, and I dug it.
Well, I think you nailed it, Jamie. The guy's making movies for himself.
For himself, yeah.
Which, sure, that's a true artist. But the reality is, if you're making movies for yourself, but nobody else likes it and it's not making money, dude, pretty soon you're not going to be making movies for anybody.
Right.
You gotta hope what you're doing for yourself resonates with other people.
Yeah, the studio wants their money back also.
Fuck yeah.
So my take on The Lighthouse. On the negative side, I absolutely agree 100% that it was a little too long. I think a film like this in one location for the entire, duration, 80 minutes, maybe 90 if you're pushing it, right? Because that's a normal length. But pushing 2 hours, a little bit too much.
109 minutes.
109. Okay. I mean, I didn't mind it that much, but I know that's pushing the limits and patience of a lot of people. So yeah, I agree with that. On the plus side, I also think it's a gorgeous film. I love the cinematography of this one as well. I kind of like these films based on isolation. And the whole time I'm watching this movie, I kept getting reminded of like the films of Roman Polanski, like Repulsion, like those apartment films where you've got basically, like one person stuck in somewhere and just going out of his or her mind. And that's what this was all about, except here you got two people. I think both performances are terrific. Yeah, you kind of know where it's going, but the whole interesting thing is like, Eggers kind of puts you, I almost felt like I was there on the island with them. The camera work is so close up to them. You feel like you're right there with them. You can almost smell the
when
foulness
Defoe gets buried.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
That's like right on his face, and it looks like, you see it.
You can almost smell his farts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he farts a lot.
It does.
A lot of farting in this.
There is a lot. Yes, there is a lot. So I don't know. The director kind of put me right there with these two as they're going completely batshit mad. And I kind of dug that. It's got this like kind of psychological thriller bent going on, which I really appreciated. And yeah, it's slow, but man, the dialogue back and forth between these two guys is really, really good. And it's just like, at times they, like you guys said, they seem like they want to just kill each other. Other times, the more they drink, all of a sudden they're like best friends again, but it's never going to last. What's the next thing that's going to set them off? And how, Defoe is just constantly giving Patterson all this shit work to do while he's up doing whatever. And it's eating at Patterson day in and day out. Another thing I thought was really interesting, and maybe I missed it, but they never really give you a sense of just how long this whole scenario takes place in.
I thought it was a
It's
month.
like 3 weeks or a month.
Was it? It's something like that, right?
I thought they had said it was 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Because that's when the ship with food was supposed to come in like 4 weeks or something like that.
And then it goes a week past that. So it goes 5 weeks.
Well, I thought, that they should have had the Twilight Zone ending where we see the supply ship come up and be like, oh, we were only a day late. Like they freaked out and killed each other, but we're only a day. That would have been the Twilight Zone ending, which I would have liked.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, I guess it just goes to show you, like in crazy circumstances, you get stuck in an isolated spot with not ideal conditions. What can happen to you? This is what can happen. So,
which to me is the Shining.
Yeah.
It's The Shining in a different location.
Yeah, and that's why to me, like, if you've never seen Repulsion, Chris, it's very similar. Very similar. Repulsion is dynamite. It's better film than this, but it's a kind of similar thing of how locking yourself in a enclosed space, claustrophobic space, with nobody else anywhere around. You can't go anywhere. And the weather has a lot to do with, just like The Shining, the snow. Here it's the constant rain and the sea. It's and then it's just and what's real, what's not, and the whole thing with the mermaid. It's just I really dug it. It's an artsy
octopus,
film. The octopus creature. Yeah, exactly right. So it's an artsy film. This is not an appeal to everyone film, and I knew that going in. And halfway through the film, I'm like, I could see a lot of people just totally not digging this, but I liked it. Is it a film that I'll reach for often? Maybe not, but I think, and it's interesting how, to me, this was not the film that he should have followed up after this, because if he did this first and he gets some people saying, "Oh, the guy's got talent," and then he does this, that's different. But when you have a film like this that actually makes some money and people are talking about it still to this day, and then this is just kind of like, not really a good follow-up, but I still dig it for what it is. So with that, we're going to move on to the Northman. Let's get the box office shit out of the way first, because Chris was absolutely right. This film cost, they give you between 70 and 90 million to make. Let's just say it's over 100 million, because when you factor everything else in, it's a $100 million movie to make, only pulled in 69.
Right.
So this was a bomb.
This was a bomb.
But again, it was released at a time where people were just starting to go back to the theaters. I don't know what it's made on, Blu-ray and DVD sales.
It had, if I remember correctly, it had something like a $12 million opening, which was way under forecast. But in subsequent, since it came out on video demand and Blu-ray and such, I think that has helped its tally quite a bit. It just didn't have a great box office run.
This to me, and I'll talk more about it when it's my turn, but this to me seems like a film that I think over time will start to gain a lot of fans and gain momentum. And those who missed it the first time. Yeah.
Which, I could see this movie being played on cable. Like, I never see The Witch. And I really wonder if that's because the language is such an issue that cable, HBO and Cinemax and all these other channels are like, let's not run this because no one's going to watch it because no one can understand a fucking word they're saying.
Well, I mean, that's a point I made a couple of weeks ago when this came up. The problem with The Witch is that if you're trying to appeal towards the masses who are not necessarily big horror fans that just want to go and see, the normal type of stuff you see in the theaters, they're not going to have patience with The Witch. They're going to be like, I don't know what's going on. I can't understand. And that's why a movie like The Witch is never going to be a big blockbuster, because it just doesn't appeal to the masses who don't have the patience of guys like us who really
doesn't have any jumps. There's no jump scares.
No, there's none of that stuff. Whereas this again, it's a long movie. It's a little on the slow side, but who doesn't like Viking films with lots of big action and all that kind of stuff? So I think this over time is going to pick up a lot of steam that it didn't get when it first got released into the theaters. And we got, Anna Taylor-Joy is back here. We got Alexander Skarsgård, Nicole Kidman, Ethan Hawke is in this, Bjork is in this, Willem Dafoe is in this. So it's got a great cast. So Jamie, why don't you start us off with The Northman?
Yeah, I think it will gain speed in popularity long after. It's kind of like Office Space. Does anyone remember Office Space coming to the theater? I don't. But everybody, I know a lot of people that can quote that movie. So I think it'll be something like that. And I could see this on the tour bus of Amon Amarth on constant rotation.
Sure.
It took me about 2 weeks, 3 weeks to go to the theater and see it. I kept putting it off. I'm getting lazier running to the, I don't run to the theater like I used to. But Pete, you said you saw it and you said, yeah, you got to see it in the theater. I'm like, yeah, I know I do. I'll just do it. And I'm glad I went to the theater to see it because, yeah, I really dug it. But I don't watch trailers like I used to. I might skim through them these days because they really do tell too much these days.
New ones,
a 2.5 minute trailer, and sometimes it tells the whole story. But I watched this one for one reason. Will I need subtitles? Can I go to the theater and watch this movie, and will I understand what they say? Saw a few scenes. I'm like, I understand every word. I'll go. So I went. And again, a beautiful movie. Again, a movie that I don't know how to categorize. Is it action? Is it a drama? Is it fantasy? I don't know. I keep it under action. I think that's the best place to put it. It looks great on 4K. The sound is great on 4K. So yeah, I really dig it. I love the first attack they do on the village. It's like a seamless scene. These days it's nothing seamless. They kind of use technology to look seamless, but I love the way they do that. There's a scene, I think, within that where a spear comes right at you, and it's not even in 3D, and I blinked. So he's really good at that. Nicole Kidman, I remember watching this movie and going, I wish she wasn't in this movie. She's just, every time I see her, I'm like, it's Nicole Kidman. It's not her fault. She's been in my life since 1989 when I saw Dead Calm. Yeah. So it's not her fault. She's just been around forever. But I will give her this. There's a scene where she's talking to the main guy. What's his name? He's got a real weird name.
Alexander Skarsgård?
Yeah, Amleth is his character name.
Oh, the character, yeah.
So she's dropping the bomb on him, on her relationship with his deceased father and everything. And with the lighting and her facial expressions, she's not Nicole Kidman to me in that scene. Yeah. She doesn't even look like herself in that scene. It is pretty frightening. And I got to hand it to her. I mean, I always thought she was a decent actress, but I think that's her shining moment in her career, if you ask me. This guy can bring out the best in actors, I think. What else did I write down here? Yeah, that monologue. I do find it weird. I mean, the whole thing is cool, but it's a simple story told in a very complex way because you got like this tree of life thing with past kings on it. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. I enjoy the visuals, but I don't understand everything in all of his movies. But it's kind of like David Lynch in Lost Highway. I don't know what's going on in Lost Highway, but I enjoy it. I do find it funny, that Amleth becomes this slave and they make him this slave. He's the biggest guy in the area, man. I'm like, do you really want to bring this guy on as a slave? Are you sure he's going to behave? You know, it's kind of like what's those guys, Siegfried and Roy? If you fuck around with a tiger long enough, it's going to attack back, guys.
Yeah.
Are you sure you want to bring this guy on as a slave? And of course, yeah, they shouldn't have, because he fights back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoy it. I will probably watch it a third time in the next year or so. So I love all these movies. Yeah, almost equally. Even The Lighthouse, which I do think has more of a following than you guys are giving it credit.
Possible. That's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think at its core, The Northman is like a Viking revenge story. It's basically what it is.
Yeah,
right?
very simple.
Yeah, it is very simple.
It's kind of like Conan the Barbarian or some shit.
It's very much like Conan the Barbarian,
Yeah.
but with blonde hair. That's yeah.
Chris, your take.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, I'm a huge Conan fan. This very much reminded me of Conan the Barbarian, except it took out the fun parts of Conan, and it also took out the big action set pieces. You know, I mean, Conan the Barbarian is if you want to boil it down, it's a revenge movie. And that's exactly what this is. And I did see it in the theater. I did enjoy it. But I do feel it's way too long. I definitely echo Jamie's statements. There's quite a few things, like with the fucking tree, and I didn't get what was going on at times. But I enjoyed it. It could be the most beautiful movie I have ever seen. Could be the most beautiful movie I've ever seen in a theater. The sound, I think it's the best sound I've ever heard in a theater. I was grateful because I did see it at the local mall, and sometimes the fucking projectionists like to turn the sound all the way down, and thankfully this one was cranked.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fucking room shattering. So I thought that was great. I thought there was a good amount of action. I would have liked more. I know my buddy Glenn told me, like, right before I saw it, he's like, listen, don't think it's going to be a full-on action epic like Conan. He's like, it's a slow burn revenge movie, and that's exactly what it was. Now, my buddy Sean went in thinking this was going to be a full-blown action Conan epic, and it's not. So he was, totally let down by it. And, not for nothing, considering the amount of money that he spent, like, he probably could have filmed a few more action sequences if that was the movie he wanted to make, which obviously that wasn't his intent. But, who knows? Maybe he should have had some more boobs and some more action, and maybe he would have made and trim off 20 minutes, and maybe you would have had a couple more $1 million in the bank. Because, yeah, obviously this was a bomb. No matter how good it was, no matter how much we all liked it, this movie fucking bombed. And Nicole Kidman, I didn't like her in it. I thought her acting was great. But, my problem with it was I just saw that HBO TV show with Nicole Kidman and Alexander Skarsgård, where they're husband and wife.
And now she's his mom.
And now she's his mom. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, just the casting alone of them, seeing them, and I don't know, whatever it was, 10, 12 episodes.
She has that face, though. She can get away with being a young mother and an older mother in the same movie. Yeah,
I mean, like I said, her acting was fine, but would I want to see Adam West and Burt Ward in a fucking movie after watching them on a TV show, playing different characters? No, I would be like, that's fucking Batman and Robin. What are you doing? So, to me, that totally took me out of it every time I saw it. But I did like it. I didn't buy the 4K yet, but I definitely will. I had to buy, some other sleeves like House by Cemetery and Maniac Cop on 4K first, first things first. But I thought it was very good. And, if we're talking the career of Robert Eggers, I hope he can keep making movies because, listen, he's 1 for 3 now as far as making money. And so, yeah, the studios, I'm sure someone will keep giving him money, but I don't know if he's going to keep getting these big budget films if
I don't think he needs it. I think he can make another $3 million film and it'd be great.
Oh, I think he totally could. And
But somebody has to back him though for that.
Yeah,
You know,
he needs.
so
I heard rumors that he was going to do Nosferatu.
Nosferatu.
That's
yeah.
what I heard.
And you know, you can.
I
see
heard it
that.
fell through.
Well, I mean, you know, Hollywood always has a million ideas, and projects are getting green light, and then hell, look at Batgirl. They fucking spent $100 million bucks on that movie now, and I just read now that the studio is going to do a funeral screening where they're going to show the footage to the cast and crew. But which is, I think that's admirable. That's great. But the crazy thing is, I just read a story where supposedly the studio is now saying they're going to destroy the print afterwards. I'm like, what?
Why?
Doesn't make any. Like, why do that? So Hollywood's a fucking mess, like every other corporation and company out there.
Warner Brothers is a mess with DC, man.
That's true. But listen, they're not even Warner Brothers now. Now they're Discovery, because the Discovery Channel bought Warner Brothers. But hopefully someone will keep giving Eggers some kind of money, and he can make some kind of movies. And because I'd like to see what he does.
He might need a popular name in his next movie, like a franchise type thing, like Nosferatu. Not a franchise, but you know, a name people know.
I mean, I think he's a guy who I could see doing a really good job on Nosferatu. But for me, it's like we've already had remakes of that. It's like I'd rather see him do something brand new on his own, because I think he's got a good mind for, you know, original ideas.
Whatever it is, you know, it's going to be the something.
Yes.
The mountain, the quest.
Yeah.
And you know it's going to be way too long, and you know it's going to be a slow burn.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll be there in the theater.
And it may or may not have Anna Taylor-Joy in it.
Yes. Well, if she's in it, then I'm definitely in.
Oh, of course, you're in.
And you do get her bare ass in this.
Yeah. She shows a little bit of flesh.
Yeah, there you go.
Being a subscriber to Mr. Skin, I could just see that butt anytime I want.
And you see a little bit of it in The Witch.
Yeah.
But I liked it, didn't love it. You know, the Northman after watching it the first time, and this was definitely one of those. It's like let's give him a budget and see what he can do, as compared to, you know, the first two movies. And again, it looks wonderful. I have to give Skarsgård a lot of credit for getting into shape the way he is. He's not a young guy. I looked up, he's 46 now, and I mean, he was in a Tarzan movie about 4 or 5 years ago where he got into he was really in great shape for that, and he did it again for this movie. He's also 6'4", so he's a big dude, and you can tell in the movie the way he walks. He has his you know, if you're sitting normal, but he's out, and then he also rolls his shoulders forward. It's an unnatural look, but when he's walking with like 2 weapons in each hand, and knowing how big he is, and of course he's in phenomenal shape, it's very imposing. So I that was something that was cool, as you know, in the battle scenes where, you know, in the beginning where he's doing it. It was just that the movie's a little it's derivative of Conan, you know, and besides the revenge factor, I mean, he even has to go into a pit to get a sword, you know, very similar.
That whole sequence.
Yeah, except for that the body holding the sword fights back.
I mean, even the beginning, you know, the family being killed, and he gets enslaved as a young boy. Then we pick him up years later, and now he's a muscle bound, you know, monster.
Yeah, he's huge. Yeah, but I enjoyed the visual part of it. I do also agree that Nicole Kidman, she was, I guess, you know, you could say like the star factor with this, you know, that the other movies possibly were missing, although she's not the main character. And I'm not sure why she would do a movie even like this, where she's, you know, very much in the background. Yeah, she's got a few scenes where she does very well in, but you know, it's definitely a supporting role for her. And also, again, as Chris had pointed out, very curious how she played Skarsgård's wife, you know, in a show 5 years prior, and now she's the mother. I mean, that's more of a statement on Hollywood and how they cast things. Same thing with Anya Taylor-Joy is like 20 years younger than him in reality, and she plays the love interest, you know, and that, even though
I see no problem with that.
well, but but I mean, but it's just how I guess it's the way Hollywood works. And I mean, she's 26 in reality, but she could probably pass for like 18. She just has that waifish look to her. But I did like the it was a little too long at parts. You could have shaved a little bit off, and there was you got your confusing parts in it. Anytime Bjork pops up in a movie, I mean, you're going to add your confusion factor a little bit. I'm sure you guys took note that the father from The Witch had a very small cameo in the Northman as the ferry boat driver, or captain, or so to speak. And Defoe was great in a really small part in that. And of course, he plays a totally weird character in this as well. But I still am interested to see what Eggers does next, and it'll be curious to see again. Will it be something a big budget like the Northman, or something more maybe halfway down, something with a $20 million budget perhaps, or something like that, so that he can still do his thing, but maybe on a smaller scale. Maybe that's where he belongs. Maybe a big blockbuster is just not his thing. I mean, look at Cronenberg. They gave him a lot of money to do Dune, and that didn't do well, and that just wasn't his or excuse me, Cronenberg, or whoever. Now I'm like Lynch.
Lynch, yeah.
Sorry. But they gave him a big budget to do that, and it didn't turn out as he expected, and then he went back to what he was doing before to a good success. So,
and everyone loves Dune these days. It's the
I
music
do.
from the elder of movies. Everyone used to hate it. Everyone loves it now.
Well, anytime
I'm
you
one
have
of them,
Sting,
because I hated that when it first came out. Now I'm like, it's pretty good actually.
you got Sting in a metal cod piece, and the guy from Pieces as the Beast Raven. So you really cannot go wrong with 85 Dune.
True. All right, so I saw The Northman in the theaters. I think I saw it on opening night, if I remember correctly. And there was nobody in the theater, but I remember my wife and I were like sitting there throughout the whole film, like, my God, this film is breathtaking to look at. I mean,
She
really
liked it?
Huh?
She liked it?
Yes.
What?
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised. And like Chris said, the sound was just amazing. I mean, just visually and from an audio perspective, man, it's a home run. Acting really good. A little too long, I would agree. And yeah, some interesting choices of actors, I think. Ethan Hawke is just like showing up in every freaking movie these days. Every time I turn around, he's in another movie. But he's in this pretty quickly. Nicole Kidman was a weird choice, I thought, for this role. She did a great job, though.
Yeah.
Kind of an interesting choice. Skarsgård was great. Anna I always want to say Anna. Anya was fantastic. And I liked it. Yeah, it's kind of derivative, and I think that Eggers was probably trying to play off the popularity of the Viking TV show that has, I don't even know if it's still running, but it was very, very popular for a number of years, and it didn't really. I'm just surprised it didn't gain more momentum in the theaters, and it didn't really draw much of a buzz at all. I mean, the critics were talking about it, but it's like there was no word on the streets like, oh, you're going to go see that new Viking film, The Northman, because everybody always talks about the Viking TV show. But yeah, it came out at a weird time. Like I said, COVID was still kind of happening. People weren't really going back to the theaters in droves yet. Would it have made more sense to hold this film till maybe like the holiday season this year? Perhaps. I don't know. Who knows? But I liked it. I think it's a good, fun, exciting film. It's a good amount of blood in the movie, which I thought was kind of cool. It's easily his bloodiest film. There's a little bit of gore. I agree with Chris. I wish there were a little more big action fight scenes, but the ones that are in it are very well done. The last sequence is really, really good. It's not a happy ending. It's kind of the ending's kind of bleak. You're really pulling for this character and, his potential life with her. I won't spoil it for those who haven't seen it, but it's, I enjoy it. I would say it's easily my second favorite out of the three. And maybe someday it might even equal The Witch, but I think they're just two totally different films. That's the thing. Even though there are stylistic similarities between all three films, every one of these films is completely different than the other. So it's almost like you can't really, I could one day, obviously today I say this is my favorite, tomorrow I could say this, and they all have this stamp, but they're all very, very different. And I think he has a really unique vision on what he wants to do with filmmaking. And that, I really can appreciate, because I like directors who want to do something different and don't want to just do what everybody else is doing. So
yeah, I was watching this again, and yes, the sound is even great on your home stereo, entertainment center. And I was thinking, man, remember in the 80s where we just watch a movie on a little screen and the only speaker we had was the speaker on the TV? We were missing 75% of the experience.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like I want to go back and rewatch every movie I've ever rented in my whole life the right way now.
But I mean, Jamie, you said it like, an hour ago. You're like, yeah, I'm getting lazy with going to the theater.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because when you were a kid, you were a kid, but right, you watched it in 4:3 on a shitty VCR with shitty sound. Now everybody has 70-inch flat screens and surround sounds. It's a totally different world than entertainment wise than it was.
And I'm at the point now where I see only in theaters, and I go, oh, it's not going to be on Hulu or HBO Max. Oh, God damn it. Yeah, we're all getting lazy.
We're getting spoiled, right? Because now we can almost recreate the theater experience in our own living rooms.
No doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, it used to be an event going to the movie theater.
Absolutely.
Now
it's losing a little bit of the magic going to the theater.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus, I always say too, when we were all collectively younger, I mean, going back, like you had to go to the movies to see the movie because you might never see it again.
Yeah, that's why I saw Raiders 9 times in the theater.
Before home video, that was it. You wanted to see it, you got to go to the movies. Now when we all see that commercial, like Jamie said, only in theaters, you're like, well, yeah, only in theaters now. In 3 months, it'll be fucking streaming everywhere, and I could buy the disc.
Yeah, like
a lot of times it's streaming like 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later.
Well,
Did Dune come out like 3 weeks after it hit theaters?
Well, they just announced the new Halloween movie, which I'm sure is going to suck, but it's going to come out day and date on Peacock, like the last one. So I was like, okay, well, I wouldn't pay to see it in the theater, but I'll watch it at home.
Yeah, and there's a big movie coming to Hulu.
Watching it at home.
Yeah.
Just saw the trailer today for a big movie, and then it says Hulu. I'm like, I thought for sure that was a theater one. Nope. Okay.
Yep.
But yeah, like you were saying, as kids, it's like whenever if they showed a James Bond movie on ABC or something like that, it's like, wow, this is the only time I'm ever going to get to see this, because it's like, you couldn't buy them, even on video at the time, or to see movies like Planet of the Apes, where they would show them, and it's like, wow, this is a treat. I could watch all 5 movies in 1 week. And
first time I ever saw Jaws was a Saturday night at the movies, ABC, with commercials. Yeah. You come down and shovel this shit. They didn't say shit.
Well, that's of course the negative part with seeing it on regular TV, broadcast TV. Everything is edited.
Yeah. All right, so there you have it, everybody. Our take on the 3 films of Robert Eggers. These 3 right here. If you've seen them all, give us your feedback down in the comments below. Let us know what you think. If you haven't watched any of them, go check them out. Then come back, report down below, and let us know what you think. And so upcoming programming here on the Monsters Den, we're going to be doing a combination of ranking some series, as well as kind of looks at very, very specific films and Blu-ray or 4K releases. So next week, speaking of Anya Taylor-Joy, let me say her name correctly, we're going to talk about Last Night in Soho next week. So that's,
and I got one of those shirts too.
You do? All right, well, you better be wearing it next week. So once again, we're going to visit a film of Miss Taylor-Joy. We've got coming up in the weeks ahead, we're going to be ranking the Batman films by popular demand. That's coming up. We're going to be ranking the Gamera film franchise for all you folks who love big. We haven't talked about big rubber monsters here on the channel in
No,
quite a
wait,
while.
far too long, Pete.
Yeah, so
Enough of this artsy fartsy shit. Let's get back to the trash already.
yeah, let's get back to rubber monsters, right?
I
So
need to see a city. I need to see a city destroyed by a guy in a
I'm
rubber.
sorry.
There you go.
This show jumped the shark once I was a regular.
What else we got? We're also going to be ranking the Hammer Dracula films also in the coming weeks, amongst other things. So that's kind of some heads up on things we've got in the works here on the Monsters Den. So visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. Stay tuned tomorrow morning. Myself and Martin Popoff at the Funhouse. Saturday, we got the UK Connection, and Sunday is ranking the albums. Jefferson Starship coming up on Sunday. Mr. Laszlo and I will be ranking the albums of Venom next week. So stay tuned for that. We got the Hudson Valley Squares coming up on Monday. And
all kinds of
Laszlo,
shit.
Chris Allo, and Craig Kaminski. I am Pete Pardo. Good night, everybody, from all of us at the Monsters Den. See you next Thursday. Take care.